So I started having anxiety attacks when I was maybe about 21, 22 years old. Now they're almost non-existent, but before, I mean, they were crippling. I was having crazy panic attacks, in and out of the hospital. Hands would lock up, face would lock up. There was a time when I was in the hospital, basically paralyzed. Hands clenched, face clenched. One of the first times that happened also was on the road when I was driving and my hands were clenched across the wheel. Had to run a red light, pull over. I nearly lost my job and I had to take like 2 or 3 months out of work. So I lost a bunch of my savings. It was a terrible experience. I also went from loving coffee and drinking these giant cups every football Sunday to not even able to have a sip. Not even able to have a sip of coffee, or it would just instantly trigger my anxiety. Went from loving driving to not able to drive a car without having the worst panic attack, locking up, hands, face, the whole nine. My brother and mother struggle from anxiety. My mom still takes prescriptions for it. My brother, who's had it for 10 or 15 years, struggles to leave his home and is very dependent on the medications. I knew that I would never take that route. Now, after I got out of the hospital from my panic attacks, I went to see a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, and I was prescribed tons of medications. Get home, let my brother know. He tells me, dude, they prescribed me all the same medications and basically was just don't take them. My brother now struggles with so many conditions. I love him and I wish he would have taken some of the same routes that I took, and that was to never become dependent on the medications. Do everything in my power to not become dependent on things that are not sustainable. What a lot of people fail to realize is that if you use that pill to get over your anxiety, you're never going to beat the root of the anxiety. You're always going to need that pill. Oh, I'm having anxiety. I took a pill, but I feel better now. That just starts a cycle that's going to continue forever. But is there something else you can do that's sustainable to get rid of the anxiety? So I found a few things. Aside from exercise and physical exertion, there was other tools that I used to help me conquer my anxiety, get back to work, and get back on with life. It might be kind of surprising for some of you, but one of them was Tic Tacs and Halls, the breath lozenges, the cough suppressants, the cough drops. So what these things are going to do is distract your senses from your anxiety. So 1, you're chewing something, which takes away your focus off your anxiety. 2, you have the minty numbing sensation that's also taking away from your senses that are contributing to your anxiety. You're doing 2 different things to distract you from your anxiety. Exercise also helped a crazy amount. Now, when I was first in the thick of my anxiety and panic attacks and things were terrible and I could barely function, yes, I kept Xanax and the other pills on me, but I only took them my entire life a handful of times. Now, a handful of times. I could count them on my hands. I kept them on me for comfort to get through my first days back at work when things were really rough. But I was always chewing on Tic Tacs and chewing on Halls, and the medications were a last resort for only if I needed them. If I really thought that while I'm at work with the client, I was going to crash my vehicle or I was going to lock up at work and be forced to go to the hospital, I had them as a safety net. The other times I was just chewing on Tic Tacs and Halls. Eventually I graduated to toothpicks just to have something to distract me, to chew on, so that my focus wasn't on my anxiety, my breathing or whatnot. I remember the first day after months of this where I left my medications at home, and it was a huge achievement. I remember sharing with my friends and family, dude, I left my Xanax at home. I didn't even have them in my car. And I was fucking scared. How crazy is that I was scared to leave my medications at home and not have them on me just in case I had a panic attack. Now that's wild that we can get that bad, but I was. It was terrible. I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack nearly every single day, especially at work. I was in and out of the hospital because I was locking up, and it was painful. Painful and scary when your hands are locking up, your face is locking up, and it's terrifying. So eventually I graduated to toothpicks, and eventually, maybe years after that, I don't even need those. But, gum is a good option. I would say the best options are Tic Tacs and Halls, cough drops. That strong sensation really takes away from your anxiety. Physical exertion, get to the gym, get that excess energy out that you need to burn. These things will help you. Sharing this information as I've shared with several other friends who this actually worked for. This doesn't just work for me. I'm not an anomaly. This worked for so many other people, and it will help you too if you struggle from anxiety. I'm not a doctor, and some people may need these prescriptions, but I know a large majority of people who can benefit from this without becoming dependent on a dangerous medication that has side effects. If you have anxiety or panic attacks, I hope you give these tips a shot, because doing these things really saved my life. Love you guys. Take care.